Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on something really fascinating. It's the world of emotional idioms in English. You know those phrases you hear native speakers use all the time about feelings? Sometimes they can be a bit confusing if you're learning. So if you've ever felt like there's a layer of meaning you're just not quite getting, well, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah, and our main source material for this is it's a really fantastic script. It comes from the Everyday English Lab podcast studio. It's part of their Talk About Feelings series, and their goal, which is basically our goal today too, is to help you understand and really use these emotional phrases so you sound more natural, more like a native speaker. We're planning to pull out the sort of the most colorful and useful ones, unpack them a bit.
It's a great mission, I think.
Yeah.
Because idioms, they're just so much more than like quirky phrases, aren't they? They're almost like little cultural snapshots. They show you how native speakers get creative about describing their inner world, often, not literally at all. They really do add flavor, but more than that, understanding them is key to grasping the emotional feel of a conversation. Getting these is like a shortcut to really sounding like you belong when you speak English.
Absolutely. And yeah, when we talk about emotional idioms, we're not just defining single words here. We're digging into those phrases where the meaning of the whole thing is, well, it's way more than the sum of its parts, often completely different, actually. These are the kind of the colorful brushstrokes we use every day when we talk about how we feel.
Exactly. Just think about it for a second. If someone says they're feeling blue, obviously they're not actually changing color. It's a way to describe that quiet sort of sadness. Or if someone's on cloud nine, they're not physically floating up there. It just means they're incredibly happy, like totally blissful. So these aren't just definitions. They give you insight into how we actually think about emotions, using language, giving feelings this shared vivid picture.
Right, that shared imagery is key. So with that foundation, let's dive into some of the most powerful, most common emotional idioms from our source material. What's one that really jumps out for capturing like pure, unadulterated joy?
Well, you absolutely have to start with On Cloud Nine. It just perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? Total euphoria, that sense of floating above all the everyday stuff. You hear it all the time when something genuinely fantastic happens. Like she was on Cloud Nine after getting the job offer. It really suggests this state of almost like serene happiness, a peaceful kind of elation.
Oh, I like that description. Peaceful elation. That's good. But what about its sibling idiom over the moon? Because they both mean super happy, right? But there's a subtle difference, isn't there?
Oh, there definitely is, yeah. While On Cloud Nine has that sort of serene, blissful feeling, Over the Moon often brings across a more active joy, maybe more effusive, more obviously excited. Think of it like, okay, maybe On Cloud Nine is floating peacefully, but Over the Moon might be more like jumping up and down, that kind of bursting with happiness feeling. You often see it or hear it expressed more outwardly. Like your example, he was over the moon when he got into university. It's that uncontainable excitement.
Right, right. That makes sense. One's kind of quiet bliss. The other's like, yes. Okay, so we've covered the highs, cloud nine, over the moon. Fantastic. But, life isn't always like that, is it? Sometimes things are tough. You hit a slump, and that's when you might find yourself feeling, a bit down. And English has such a perfect, simple phrase for that.
It really does. Feeling blue. This one's great because it captures that sense of quiet sadness, melancholy maybe. It's not usually like intense grief or despair, more of a general low feeling, like being a bit down in the dumps. So if you notice someone seems quiet, maybe a bit distant, not quite themselves, saying something like, he's been feeling blue since the breakup, it just conveys that subdued mood perfectly. It's actually quite an empathetic way to put it, I think, without being overly dramatic.
Yeah, that quiet sadness nuance is really useful. Empathy without drama, exactly. And sometimes, of course, sadness or frustration or other things that can bubble up and boil over. What about those moments when emotions get really intense, really strong?
Well, then you might lose your temper. This one is super common. It means exactly what it sounds like, suddenly getting very angry, like losing control of your emotions. The source used a classic example, something like, my boss lost his temper during the meeting. It's direct, it's quite strong language, and it's really useful for describing those moments of sort of explosive anger, whether at work or, at home. The image itself is powerful, isn't it? Like something inside just snaps.
Yeah, it really paints a picture. And sometimes you're not the one losing your temper, but you're trying really hard not to make someone else lose theirs. There's that brilliant idiom for that kind of situation, that careful navigation.
Oh, you must mean walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a vivid one. It describes that situation perfectly, where you're being extremely careful about what you say or do because someone is easily angered. Or maybe the whole situation is just really delicate. If you hear, everyone's working on eggshells around her today, you immediately understand there's tension. There's this fear of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. It instantly conveys that fragile, cautious atmosphere.
It's such a strong visual, isn't it? You can almost feel the crunch, makes you feel the tension. Now, sometimes all these strong feelings, anger, stress, frustration, they kind of build up inside, right? And you just need a way to let them out.
And that is exactly where blow off steam comes in. This one, I think, is one of the most versatile, most frequently used idioms in everyday English.
Yeah.
Definitely. It just means releasing those strong, pent-up emotions, usually stress or anger, but in a harmless way.
Yeah.
Like the example, I went for a run to blow off steam after work. Perfect. It's often about finding a healthy outlet, and that image of a pressure cooker letting off steam is just so relatable for everyone.
It really is. So relatable. Okay, so we've unpacked a really powerful set of idioms today. Let's try and make this stick. Let's imagine a few scenarios. Maybe you at home can think along with us. Say you're trying to describe a friend who is just absolutely buzzing, totally ecstatic because they got into their dream university. What idioms immediately pop into your head? Probably on cloud nine, or maybe over the moon, right? Both work perfectly for that huge happiness.
Exactly. Or what if you see someone and they just look really down, unusually quiet, maybe a bit withdrawn? What's the idiom that just perfectly captures that kind of gentle, mellow sorrow? If feeling blue came to mind, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's the one.
Okay, one more. Picture this. You're in a difficult meeting. Tensions are high. Your colleague is clearly getting super frustrated, maybe close to getting angry. And you find yourself choosing your words really, really carefully, trying not to make things worse. What are you doing in that moment? You're definitely watching on eggshells.
See, these are the kinds of real-world situations where these phrases just fit. They make your English sound so much more natural, so much more fluent. And practice really is the key here. Even just trying to intentionally use one or two of these in your conversations each day, it can make such a noticeable difference in how comfortable and natural you sound.
And the source material we looked at really underlined the why. Why bother using these? Well, they're just perfect for casual chats with friends, especially if you're telling a story, right? And you want to add that vividness, that color when describing emotions. They don't just state an emotion, they kind of evoke it. They're like your secret weapon for sounding authentically fluent. Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. Well, you'd probably avoid them in very formal writing, like an academic paper or something. For spoken English, oh, they are absolute gold. They inject personality, real genuine emotion, and this incredible depth into what you're saying. Simple words just can't always match that. So, just to recap quickly, today we've taken a deep dive into some really essential emotional idioms. On cloud nine, feeling blue, lose your temper, walking on eggshells, over the moon, and blow off steam. Each one is like a little window, isn't it? A window into the richness of English.
It really is. And maybe as we wrap up, here's something for you to think about. A final thought. These aren't just, cute or quaint expressions we learn. The actual imagery inside each idiom, like being on a cloud or literally walking on eggshells. That imagery gives us this profound glimpse into the cultural, maybe even psychological ways we understand and talk about our feelings. What do these specific common images tell us about how we sort of collectively perceive our inner worlds? It's not just about learning what they mean, but maybe pondering how these phrases shape our actual experience of feeling things. Food for thought.